Per TCA 49-2-202, Board of Education members who have relatives, per the statute, relative means spouse, parent, parent-in-law, child, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, grandparent, grandchild, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, nephew, niece, or any person who resides in the same household as you. Employed by the system are asked to raise your hands to identify yourself. Do you certify that the votes that you make tonight will be in the best interest of the school system, regardless of the effect that your vote may have upon the employment of your relative or relatives? I do. Okay, I've asked Mr. Weiss to do a moment of silence and do the pledge.
Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. 10-20-3, Miss Jackie Davis. Just come on up to the podium. You have 5 minutes, and Sandra will record that 5 minutes. I do ask the board not to ask any questions till the end of the 5 minutes. So,
Was she going to tell me when the time starts? I'm so sorry.
okay, you can go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. I come before the board today in regards to a junior ROTC program in our schools. I have no intentions of standing before you today and acting like I know all there is to know about this program, as I do not. But I do want to talk about what I have read or been told. I had emailed back the first part of August prior to school starting to discuss this, and received an email after the September meeting that there had been contact and discussion about this. So I would like to hear where you guys are with that. Monroe County Schools does not currently have a junior ROTC program, nor a contract with a neighboring school. The program is not only beneficial to those students going into service, but all students. Junior ROTC teaches students a variety of character traits and life skills such as leadership, self-confidence, discipline, communication and collaborative skills, community service skills, accountability, time management, and problem-solving skills. The program also teaches personal skills such as health, nutrition, financial management, as well as college financial planning. The program helps to prepare students to be productive citizens and leaders, which I'm sure we can all agree we need in this area. The program provides a job opportunity to a retired service member as well. It is also my understanding that this would be an elective for the students. While my child was put into some psychology class he cares nothing about and taking PE for the second time this year, which is a waste in my opinion, as should be yours as well. As a mother of a child going into the Army, I stand before you today and ask that you look into getting this program in our schools. Again, I want to stress it's not just for those going to service. But did you know, had my son had the opportunity to do junior ROTC, he could have gone in as an E2 or even an E3 had he had 2 years of the program, making more money to fight for our freedom for simply taking this course. I cannot think of a class that you or I could have taken in high school that would have increased our pay. We have dual enrollment scholarships, etc. for those going to college, trade-oriented classes for students choosing that direction, sports for those wanting a career in that direction, yet we have nothing currently for those wanting to go into service. Recruiters couldn't even get into Sequoia last year. The students willing to put their lives on the lines for ours deserves the same. I was told that the ASVAB would be in October. We're at the end of October and I still haven't heard anything. I've been to a few of these meetings and watched as you all voted on something last year. I don't recall what, but that's not important. But what I observed was everyone at the table agreed. However, some of y'all's faces said otherwise. I'm asking the board to stop being a follower when it comes to making decisions about these kids and stand up for them. Just because someone says it should be one way doesn't make it right. We are the land of the free because of the brave. So I ask that you be brave enough as a board member to simply help these kids willing to fight for us. Getting a junior ROTC program now won't likely help my child as he is a junior, but it will help students in the future. If I'm willing to come before you for something that won't help my child at this point, as his schedule is pretty much set, then y'all should be willing to help those future students as well. As any child willing to fight for this country deserves all the help and resources we can offer. My child has had a goal to be all he can be since he was 2 years old, so we all can keep our freedom. And so I stand here today and ask the board to please consider the program to help these kids out and be all you can be in your job to make it happen.
I want to say thank you so much for coming and doing that. Tremendous program. I'm a product of an ROTC, and I enlisted as an E3. You're correct. And the one thing I can see it helping is in discipline. We have so much issues with discipline, and it can help with that a lot. And I will support you any way I can, and you just let me know if I can.
I wish I knew the direction. Again, I'm a nurse. I don't know the direction, but I do think it would help these kids. There's a lot of issues in this school. And again, I understand it's an elective. My kid's stuck in 2 classes he doesn't need. That is a waste of his time.
What you want us to do? What?
Actually, Dr. Evans has met with someone. She can elaborate a little about what she has found out since, obviously, you spoke with someone last.
Yes, I spoke with the American Legion, Post 256, I believe it was. The commander of that post actually lives in Monroe, and so I talked with him and another gentleman last summer about starting the program. There's a lot to it, requires specific space. They could, help us and check all of that. Also requires a certain number of students as far as the population of the school. So they were looking at Sequoia first. But what he told me was that even if we started right now, it takes, you're looking at a lot of planning and time, that it could take a couple of years before it was ready to actually kick off. So I know that Dr. Parham is also looking into the possibility of a Civil Air Patrol program after school, as after-school activities for students. And he has been working on that. So that's where we are right now. And what we thought we would do is do a survey for students at Sequoia to see how many would actually, be interested in that program of study and would sign up for it, because it's also a great deal of money. And I talked to the gentleman about could we get, help from them, funding, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of planning and a lot of work to getting it started. That doesn't mean that we don't want to do that. It just means, Sequoia had a lot of changes this year, and we're trying to get things settled. And we also want to know how many students would actually sign up for the class, because we would have to pay for a teacher too. So it would have to be a teacher that would also be willing to be a certified CTE instructor, which means they would have to take some classes most likely. So that's where we are. So we're not.
Oh yeah, I don't expect it to help my child. I'm too far in the game. He's a junior. His classes are set. It's not going to help him.
Yeah.
But hopefully we could get it, and it would help future
We are
students.
looking at some things. So and Dr. Parham was very excited about the possibility of a Civil Air Patrol program, and thinks that would also help a lot of our students.
I would like to know about that if you find out. I do understand that can also bump him up. Maybe, do you know? I was told from the recruiter for this area that would bump him up as well, but of course it wasn't
And I
offered.
can tell you, this has been many years ago, but when I was at Sequoia as a grad coach, we worked with the military recruiters. They would come in, and those students who were very interested, that was their career path, they were like mentors to them.
Mhm.
So I think maybe possibly COVID has hurt some of those things that we used to do, but I feel like we'll be able to get those going again. So.
Ms. Davis, I agree with you also, because I would greatly support this. I think our students need more of this in the military. I think we need to, that would teach our students more, like John said, discipline and that. But I would also disagree with you on your statement you made about PE. The state requires at least one thing of PE, and all you got to do is look across the board at our students today, and instead of just going and walking around the gym as we do now, we need a rigorous PE program. So I think that teaches something. I would disagree with that, but the ROTC, I think that would be a very worthwhile thing. They can go from here, and I think there's also, isn't there, scholarships in college that have good ROTC things? I believe there is, but I would also support that. I appreciate you coming and bringing it up, and if it may take a couple of years, if it does, so be it. But that's something we need to do, and with all the other programs we offer, why can't we offer something in civics for our civil disobedience, or not disobedience, that's the wrong word, but purpose of our students for this. So hire that teacher instead of some other. Thank you for coming.
Ms. Brown, can you speak on the ASVAB?
Yes, so they have a new testing coordinator over ASVAB, William Brown, who has been to Sequoia, and they have rolled out the ASVAB on Chromebooks. So he wanted to start with a smaller scale in this county. So today, Tellico Plains High School did the ASVAB on Chromebooks.
No,
Did
they
they,
changed their mind.
did they change their
called-
mind?
They were going to, they
Okay.
called and said something wasn't ready for it, they did not do it. They did do the ASVAB.
But that was
but
their
it was still
plan.
paid for. It was their
Okay.
plan, but it was on their part that they changed it.
Okay, so, but it is scheduled for either the first week of December or January. He has given us those 2 dates. So it is already scheduled.
Dr. Evans, is there any action this board can take tonight to facilitate your study or?
I think just, know that we do want to do some type of a survey with students so we can have a count of how many, because if you put this, if this is under a CTE program, they would be doing ROTC 1 and 2, and then there are 2 classes, government classes they would be taking. So it would be 4 years, but it's not necessarily 4 years that they would be out there, marching and all of that. So, what I would propose is that we do the survey of students, and then if there's a lot of interest, I can come back and share that with you all, and then we can, I can follow up with my contacts and see if they want to come out and look at the school and see what kind of possibilities and space requirements they would need. I mean, they have to have a place. This is what they told me. You have to have a place to store guns. So those are some of the things we're looking at.
Is that live good?
I wouldn't think it would be, but I mean, yeah.
I worked at a school previously that was a military high school, and every student in the school was in the JROTC program, and we only had 300 students there, but every single student went through the JROTC program. But we can get some funding from either the Department of Defense or something there to help offset, because you do have to have instructors, and they're usually sergeant major retired guys, but I don't know what all that requires, but I'll be glad to help you on that any way I
I
can.
mean, probably actually starting it would not be the most difficult part, getting an instructor in place and figuring out all of that would be, and getting them with the Tennessee, TDOE approved as an instructor would be where we deal with the hardest.
Would that be any more difficult than doing a welding teacher or a nurse? Would it be more difficult to do that than it is any other CTE program? It is.
It's,
Has been passed. Several years ago, I say several, more like 15 years ago, we attempted twice to add that program at Sequoia High School, once when I was in the counseling department and once after I came here. And went pretty far into the process. That was, I would say, the most difficult position we ever tried to fill, and that's why we didn't get the program. We jumped through every hoop that we, could be laid out there for this plan, and both times we got to the instructor, and once we even had a committed instructor, and then his pay and his desire to do it didn't quite equal each other, and so he didn't want to do it. But other than that, those are the two. I mean, that's the biggest problem I've ever seen trying to staff, and that's unfortunate.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Okay, 10-20-4, Shauna Bowers over the TSTA Teacher of the Year.
Yes, thank you, and good evening. I was contacted at the beginning of this school year by the TSTA, which is the Tennessee Science Teachers Association, for some nominations for the Science Teacher of the Year for Monroe County to represent then to go into like a pool of teachers to maybe be chosen at the state level. So we sent applications to the school principals, and the applications that we received, we reviewed and selected 2 teachers. We selected a first place and a runner-up. So first place is Miss Stephanie Atkins of Madisonville Intermediate School. And Miss Emily Roy was not able to be with us tonight. She's from Sweetwater High School. And I just want to say that I know it seems like our main focus, and we push ELA and math so much, which are very important, but sometimes our other subjects fall through the cracks. But science teachers are working hard, diligently to teach our students as well, and we're just proud of all that they do too. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we need to add to the agenda under 1020-9, approval of SRO agreement with the town of Von Orr. And then we're also going to add the energy saving contract right underneath that. Do I have a motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to approve the consent and regular agenda as amended. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Ten 20-5, approval of the consent and regular agenda. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Ten 20-6, approval of the October budget amendments.
Madam Chairman, I move to be approved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is there any big ones, Gail?
It's mainly carryover money from federal programs. That's it.
Thank you.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. 10-20-7, approval of the minutes from the September 9th, 2022 regular board meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. New business, 10-20-8, approval of the changes to SBP 5.3021, bereavement leave to align with the current MOU between the Monroe County Board of Education and the professional employees of the Monroe County School System, approved in May of 2022. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Explain to me sort of what this is.
It was the addition of bereavement days that was brought up during the PECA collaboration, and it was agreed on both by the school system side and the side that is representative of the teachers. So it's already in it's in the MOU. We just had to put it into the policy.
So it's not gonna affect, it's not for any reason, it's just time that we did this.
Correct.
It's not gonna affect anybody.
No, it's just an addition of days when
I know.
someone, depending on the relation to them, if someone passes away.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. 10-20-9, approval of school resource officer agreements with the City of Madisonville and the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, 2022 through 2026. This is a 4-year agreement. Do I have a motion to approve? Any discussion?
This is the SRO officers that we have right now. This is not the new through the judges deal. Okay. I've got to make this a little interesting. We've got a 4-year contract here. But we wanted, when we did the transportation deal, we made a big deal about doing 2 years with 2-year option. Why would we not do a 2-year deal, a 2-year option here? Because we might be dissatisfied with what's going on.
Actually, that was something that the police, law enforcement, local law enforcement that provide the SROs, and the school system were both in agreement with, because the contract has not changed in years. It's the same terms, it's the same payment division, so instead of every year the attorneys having to go back through and review and submit it back again, they felt like since there were no changes and.
So there's no changes?
No, it's the same contract, and it's stood for several years now, so that's why they were willing to go into it for 4 years.
I just wondered.
Yes.
Question. Vote.
Okay. I need a motion to approve. Oh, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. This is also the approval of the SRO agreement with the town of Monroe. This is where we'll add this at, so I'll need a motion.
Motion that we add Von Orr.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, then we have the energy saving contract.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the vendor number 2 of the lighting and plumbing that we discussed in the workshop.
Any discussion? Mr. Richard Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Joe Cagle, yes. Ms. Sharon Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Mark Ingram?
Yes.
Mr. Freddie Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. John Ridgel.
Yes.
Dr. Lon Shootman.
Yes.
Mr. Don Weiss. Mr. Dean Williams. Motion passes with all ayes. Ten 20-10, approval of local education agency compliance report.
Review that a little bit, please, Madam Chair.
Ms. Strickland? Can you review the local education agency compliance report?
I think Don just wanted a summary
Yes,
of what
I
it
do.
was.
Just want to hear a review of it, so.
Yeah, it states we're in compliance. They'll look at it, and then they'll review it and let us know if we are or not. It's the way I understand it, is that?
This is just a certification that we say we understand and agree that we're in compliance with our federal and state laws for education. It's something we submit every year, and there are some requirements we've had to put in for COVID issues this year with our continuity of instruction, and those are all attached here, but it's nothing new. This is something we've already had in place.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. 10-20-11, approval of ESSER 3.0 public plan for remaining funds. No changes to that. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. 10-20-12, Ms. Shauna Bowers, ELA, HQIM's curriculum, and Tennessee literacy laws. It's an update.
If you will look in your blue folder, you have everything in there that I'm going to talk about, plus it was sent to you electronically when Sandra sent you all of your information. So the first document you will find is directly off the state of Tennessee's website, and it's an FAQ. And I'm just going to, bear with me because I don't want to misquote anything. I'm just going to read just a little bit from the first paragraph.
It's too.
Oh, great.
I've been quiet all night.
Great. Okay. The Tennessee General Assembly passed two key pieces of legislation during the 2021 legislation, and it's called the Tennessee Literacy Success Act and the Tennessee Learning Loss Remediation and Student Acceleration Act. This is to help ensure that Tennessee students could recover from the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and close gaps in students' learning. As part of this legislation, the General Assembly revised the state laws regarding the promotion of students from third grade. So that's what I'm going to break down here in just a second. I'm not going to read this whole FAQ. This is just, you can look through it later because it spells out exactly what the law means. So what we have done is we've taken this FAQ, and if you'll look next in your packet, you have this colorful one-pager. And this is the communication that we're going to be sending out to our parents, our community, our stakeholders, so that they understand what this means. We went over this in principals meeting this week, and you're next on the agenda of going over. And then once we talk about it tonight, we'll be posting it on social media, on our websites. Parents will be having parent night, parent conferences to explain what this means. So if you'll look, just the green box at the top explains the law, like I just kind of read. And then the yellow box talks about the foundational literacy that we are currently doing. If you'll remember, we started this last year with all of our elementary teachers were trained. The state paid for it. They gave them stipends. It was a summer training. And the state also provided us with this foundational curriculum supplement, which we started last year. So this year, our new ELA instructional coach, Miss Laura Jones, is working with K through 2 teachers to continue this foundational work in our elementary schools. We also received an $80,000 grant from the state last year to help with that. So we have a vendor, a company, consulting, expert company called School Kit, who has come in. They're working with Laura. They're providing teacher training for administrators. They're doing some learning walks with us, and that runs through the end of this school year. Okay? Yes, you can.
When you talk about this training,
Yes.
are they actually going to sit down with these third graders in a classroom and listen to them, have them read, and them actually read and know what they're reading to be able to, move on to the 4th grade? Or is it going to be some kind of test?
I'm glad you asked. That's what I'm going to explain. It's going to be based on a test.
So see, that's not, some kids won't test.
Right.
It's got to be basic. It looks to me like you'd want to know if they could read. I mean, we're paying these teachers, and you're going to have.
And teachers are doing that, and teachers are doing their job, but the state law, which I'm going to explain here, according to the state, in order to students to move on, they have to meet certain criteria. So teachers are sitting with students, they are having reading groups, and they are doing that, but I'll explain if you'll look on the back.
So if a teacher knows that student can read and read proficiently,
Okay.
but they do not test and meet the proficiency, what are we going to do then?
Well, the state, there is a clause in there that parents can appeal to the state after certain criteria are met. So there is kind of like a due process, so to speak, where you can go to that point. The state has not spelled out what that looks like or what that means specifically yet. That's forthcoming. So we don't know. But if you'll look at the back of your flyer, it's kind of got the roadmap. And so it really breaks it down so it's easy to understand. And the red box at the top, it pretty much, what do I need to know if my child's in kindergarten, 1st or 2nd grade?
And we're doing that.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you some
You
stuff.
keep, yes,
So
yes.
we're doing that.
We're doing that, meaning what?
We're working with those kids we know in the 1st and
Yes.
2nd grade.
Yes.
That they have a problem.
Yes. And
And we're addressing it.
yes, we are.
Okay.
We are.
Okay,
So,
'cause this is going to be a major issue.
and it is across the state, and
Okay.
I'll talk about that here in just a
Okay.
second. But if you look, these are some of the things. So we have screening. Miss Angie Garrett, who's over our RTI program and does a fabulous job, screens students 3 times a year. And after the screenings, parents get notification whether their child is above grade level, on grade level, or below grade level in K1, 2.
At the first of the year, not at the end of the year when they get their grade cards.
Beginning,
Or-
middle, and end. 3 times a year.
Okay, they're not come up at the end of the year
No.
and be told that their child does not read.
No. Beginning of the year, middle
Okay.
of the year, and there's
Okay.
3 benchmark tests.
Okay,
And so if you look at the red box down there where it says below grade level, then it splits off and it explains these students receive extra supports from teachers in their area of need. And then in the spring, starting this spring, they're going to be given top priority on summer school. Okay? So the RTI program is serving students below the 25th percentile.
Okay.
Teachers are working extra with students in reading group on their level to get them up to level, and then students have opportunity for summer school.
so 25th percentile
Yes.
or above.
Below is what?
But above, are they gonna go on to the fourth grade?
No,
So
it's going to be higher
there's a
than that.
big issue with this 25 and 40.
Yes.
Which 40's not good either.
Right. I agree. But
70% of our students now below grade level.
roughly, yes.
So what the law says is if they don't meet these benchmarks, 70% of 5,000 or whatever there is, I think we've got 5,000 total students, third grade is going to have to go to summer school or they can't go on.
Well, and it'll actually be statewide, and statewide is sitting at the same. So yes, that's what the state is saying. So
So we have teachers in place to take care of all this summer school.
that's another question, because we struggled. We have struggled the past couple years to get enough teachers, to get enough tutors. So,
If we can't get those teachers, then those students move on.
No.
well, I'm going to read to you what the state law says. Okay, so if you'll bear with me and look at the last column there. So at the top it says, what do I need to know when my child's in third grade? So if you look, it says students in third grade will be screened 3 times a year on their benchmark assessments, fall, winter, and spring. Parents are notified. The next is they will take the TCAP test, which we already do in the spring. After the TCAP test, then it kind of splits off. So if you look at the left side, it says students scoring below expectations will be retained in third grade unless, so then you go down to the purple box, and it says unless the student attends summer school with a 90% attendance rate and shows adequate growth on a post-test.
Another question.
Yes.
We know that a lot of times that summer school is just based on being there. 90% attendance. Are we gonna try to go that direction and not do the follow-up? Whether, if they can't read?
Well, what this state law says, they have to have a 90% attendance rate and they have to show growth on a post-test.
But we're gonna show that growth.
Well, that's our goal.
I mean, we're gonna show it.
That's our
Good or
goal.
bad. Because it's just like a lot of these kids wanna goof off all year long. And then do summer school and it's just going. That's not what we're talking about
No,
right here.
we're not talking about that. They have to attend and they have to show growth on a post-test provided by the state.
So they're going back to this test.
Yes.
They don't trust a teacher. They don't trust you teachers to sit down and let a kid read.
I mean, it goes more than fluency. There's other things involved. The tests fluency, comprehension, foundational skills, writing, grammar.
Whoop, whoop.
So
And
it's
when you
not
get
just
in,
reading.
So the writing's gonna be included in this too?
The TCAP test includes all those things. Now, we don't know what this summer school post-test is going to look like because it's forthcoming. We don't know what that's going to look like yet. This is all state. This is not something that we're going to create. So I'm assuming it'll be standardized.
I'm 100% for this. Is the school system 100% for this? Because there's a movement statewide that they don't want to do this. They want to keep on sending these kids through high school and not know how to read, correct? Because the parents are going to raise Cain. But so we're committed to a kid going to summer school, and whether they can do the test or whatever, our teachers are going to have them sit down and read. And I used to think that a book report was stupid, but now then they need to know what they read.
And part of this is, a lot of this we're already doing. Part of this is, I think, priorities have changed at home.
Shauna, a lot of them can't read, I'm telling you.
But
A lot of
but
them
I'm
can't
still
read or
saying,
write.
we're doing a lot of this. So somehow there's going to have to be some assistance outside of school because, we only have these students for so many hours a day, and we're doing a lot of this. So moving forward, they have to attend summer school 90% and show growth on a test, and they have to attend fourth grade tutoring, their whole fourth grade. So they have to, if they score below expectations on this third grade TCAP test, the state says they will attend summer school with 90% attendance rate, they will show growth on a test, and they will attend tutoring all through fourth grade.
So that's going to be the cop-out. We're going to send them to summer school. They may or may not get to reading. But if it comes down to the end, Then we're gonna let them go on to the 4th grade, when the mamas and daddies raise Cain, and we're gonna do the tutoring in the 4th grade.
But if you look on at the orange box, it says, however,
I'm with you.
students that weren't retained in 3rd grade, so they chose to do the summer school, they chose to go on to 4th grade and do tutoring. If you look, it says, so students who were not retained in 3rd grade, they attend summer school and tutoring, and they show growth on the 4th grade test, then they can go to 5th grade. If they don't, then they're retained in 4th grade.
But that's still better than nothing.
I mean, it's a
Surely-
plan.
Surely they'll get it.
It's a plan. It's a plan.
But, now the state's gonna change this because is our school system complaining about this?
I think there's a lot of concern across the state. It's not, I mean, we don't have a choice but to follow the law. This is law. So we
But-
have to do it, but logistically, there's going to be a lot of complications. Staffing it, making sure that it happens, keeping up with it. The fact that we still don't know, I mean, we don't have in front of us what it is that we're even expected to do at this point. There are no specifics. This is all we have. We've been told it's law. We've been told these are the guidelines, and that's it. We haven't seen the tests. We don't know. There's a lot that we don't know yet.
And a lot of systems want them to change this.
Absolutely.
To go back. Are we one of those systems?
Well, we haven't done a resolution. Some have done resolutions, and we have not. I mean, it's state law, so we know that as long as it's in place, we have to follow it, and we will.
This is very good. But it's gonna be very controversial.
So what I talked about on the left side were students that scored below expectations. That's what they have to do. Summer school, show growth on a test, and go to tutoring in order to move on. If you look to the right side of the flow chart, students that score approaching, so there's 4 levels. We have below level, we have approaching, we have on level, and above level. So students that are approaching, they're not quite there on grade level, they're approaching. It says that student attends summer school with a 90% attendance rate and shows adequate growth on the test, or goes to 4th grade tutoring. So if you'll look, there's one group of students that has to do both things in order to not be retained. And then there's another group that's closer to expectations that can choose. They can go to summer school or they can attend tutoring in 4th grade. And then if they show growth, then they can be promoted to 5th grade. So, yes. State has not told us that. They haven't told us how much growth, what the test will look like, or specific guidelines around even the appeal.
See, that's why they need to get back to common sense. Teacher knows whether a kid can read.
And our teachers are working
And
their
that
tails
solves
off.
it. That solves it. But then a teacher tells some parent that really thinks their child can read, tells them they're gonna hold them back because they can't read, and that's when you're gonna have all the controversy. But it has to come that the state's telling us too much stuff to do. It needs to be in our classrooms. They need to be, it shouldn't be no problem right here.
And the teachers do whatever we ask them to do. They, every day, if it's changed this, if the state changes that, they comply, they work, they plan, they spend their own money, and I applaud them. So anyway, so we're working on the summer school plan. We're going to work on that. Other ways that we're continuing to work on that is by, if you look at your last handout, is if you'll remember, we've been working on, this is our 3rd year on high-quality instructional materials for ELA. We got those materials, and so teachers all have the same high-quality instructional reading and language materials across the district. And then if you'll remember, we've been working with the state's initiative on Reading 360, and we had a partnership we still do, with the East Core Office of Tennessee, and we've had lots of training, and this tool right here is called an IPG, an Instructional Practice Guide, and I explained it last year. What I have in blue, Culture of Learning and Core Action 1, we really worked on with teachers last year. We're building upon that this year, so now we're moving to Core Action 2 and Core Action 3, which talks about effective use of questioning and tasks in the class to get students on grade level. and opportunities for student engagement. So we're conducting literacy walks, the principals, the assistant principals. We have a group of teacher leaders that are that join us as a district. We do these literacy walks. We give teachers feedback. We have collaborative sessions. So we are continuing to do that this year, and that will continue next year. So just because math is coming doesn't mean we're going to throw ELA by the wayside. We're just going to build, and then we'll be adding math next year.
Well, now, do you do this K through 3, the same thing you're talking about here? The walk?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You supervisors
Yes.
are top notch. Yous are really too good. We go to Nashville and we listen to the state. Now, we might get by with, and a lot of people are not going to agree with me, but the public agrees. Okay, you all go to Nashville, and you bring every little program back, cores and, whatever, all this stuff. We might get by with it by the time they get to the 5th or 6th grade, if they can read and write. But we're going to have, in the K through 3, you're going to have to go back to the basics. They need to know how to read and write, print, write cursive, add, simple math, and subtract, multiply. They need to do, they can't even count money. I'm talking about high school kids now. Yous are not getting the job done. I think we're coming back when a parent cannot do a first or second grader's homework. It's too complicated. And that's my opinion, and that's a lot of people's opinion that runs business. There's kids that when they come to kindergarten or time they get to 3rd grade, don't know how to hold a pencil because they're all just, and I ain't gonna bring them up because they'll get mad at me, but anyway, they're using these phones and all this. You're gonna have to get back to the basics on them. Everything they say in Nashville is not the law. It's not, it may be the law,
Well,
but
our
it's not.
curriculum, our standards, and our strategies, pretty much what we're doing in the classroom now is.
The teachers cannot even, some of you 1st and 2nd grade teachers can't even you've got to get into a process. You can't, every time they turn around, it may not be all of them if you're 1st or 2nd grade, but I've heard from some of them. They can't even get into a rhythm. They'll start this, and then the next year, some good supervisor over there, your Secretary of Education, says do it this way. You're not getting the job done.
And I can tell you, we're given a hand that we're dealt. We have standards to follow, and we have a curriculum that's been approved by the state. We have training that the state provides, and that's what our teachers are doing.
But it's not working. It is not working.
I feel that's where, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
You're all right.
They're doing what the state tells them to do. We do think, everybody would probably think we need to do basics, but the state, they have to follow what the state says. It's not their fault.
Then the state needs to hire some of these people over in the big offices that they're paying $100,000 a year that can't read and that can't add and subtract and can't make change. They need to hire some of those people, then they'll see what's happening. Now, that's what your employers and your business people are saying. These kids are not getting it, which this may help. If they'll learn them how to read, if you'll learn somebody how to read and write and add and subtract, he'll figure out how to make it, or she will.
And I think it's important, if that's the case, and I know you hear from these people, I think that's why our message is so important. It's not that our teachers aren't getting the job done. It's not that our administrators aren't getting the job done. It's that the job has been made so difficult. And you're right, it comes from way above us. And when they do everything that's required of them each day, and then I can speak, I was speaking to a elementary principal the other day, and I said, I have not worked with my child who's 13 as hard as I did K through 3. There was that much work that came home, as much in the evening as there was during the day, almost.
Overwhelming.
To learn how to do what she needed to learn how to do. There's not enough hours in the day with all they have to do. But I had to put in that additional time too. And we have a hard time, in a lot of cases, being able to get that additional time put in on top of what's required of us. So I wouldn't want anybody to think that we just say our teachers aren't getting the job done, because that's not the case.
They're not.
They have an impossible job to do, and doing what they're trying to do, which is their best with what they are given, Sometimes it's an impossible task. So I do think changes need to be made, and I know that I voice it every time I have an opportunity. I know you can do that when you go to meetings as well, and I think that's what we need to do, is just voice. We have to follow the law, but we also know the task ahead of us, and it's very, very difficult.
Okay, Shauna, do you agree this is one of the best programs that they've sent out of the state in a long time as far as K through 3?
This law right here,
This,
I don't want to give my personal
well,
opinion
as
up
far
here.
as teaching kids to read, that's their main objective, is to try to teach kids to read.
I think the accountability sounds great. However, when you look statewide, and 75% of kids are in this boat, it's not going to be feasible. It's not going to be feasible.
And because of politics, they'll kick this out.
And that may be the case. And I knew when I came tonight that I was the messenger of some difficult news. However, I don't want it to end that way. Yes, we've tried to make it colorful, which maybe might soften the blow, but the message that we send to our parents, our community, our teachers is going to be important. We may not like it, but like Dr. Windsor said, this is law. We're going to follow it like we always do. Every year when we ask teachers to do more, I think there's no way. And every year, somehow, they rise to the occasion, they work harder, they work longer, and they love these kids, and they show up every single day. So we're going to support them the best that we can. We're going to support parents the best that we can, and we're going to do this together. And hopefully, we're going to see results of our foundational skills supplement that we're using and our high-quality instructional material. And we're not going to give up. We're going to keep striving. We're going to keep working. So I don't want to leave here with a bad taste in everybody's mouth.
It's not a bad taste. This is a great thing,
Okay.
and it ought to be sold to the public and the parents. Their kids are going to know how to read when they get to the 4th grade. I mean, that's a great thing, but they're not going to stay with it. You watch.
We also did copy for you. If you I didn't give it to you because if you want it, you can come by at my table and get it before you leave. The state released several items from past TCAP tests for 3rd grade. So we wanted you just to see, if you're interested, what portions of the 3rd grade test looks like. And then in the back, it has some more information about standards that are covered on the test. And all those standards are online. And you would be amazed at some of the standards. They are very rigorous and difficult and different than they were when we went to school, but that's the way it is. And then also we put in there like the subparts of the test so you could see how long a student in 3rd grade takes the TCAP test and what the subparts look like. And then also the last page, when I talked earlier about below expectations, approaching expectations, it gives you like a chart where you can see what that means. What does below expectations mean? What does approaching grade level mean? So if you're interested when you leave, you can come by my table and talk to me some more and get a copy of this test. Yes.
What Dr. Windsor has said, there's a statewide problem, but it's not a teacher problem. The problem is we don't read to our kids in the home, and so they're not used to reading. I think that's where you learn to read. And the kids are overwhelmed. The teachers are swamped. As you say, we keep adding more and more on our teachers. This is not a teacher problem. This is a structural problem, be it with curriculum, be it with a home, be it whatever it is. This is state law. We have to follow it. Will you please keep this board informed as to how we can be supportive of our teachers and our kids? That's what we're here for. So please call on us and let us know what we can do to help.
I absolutely will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions? Contact me anytime. Yes, yes,
Question
sir.
on logistics. So if 50% of this 75 percentile do the summer school and the after-school program, I mean, that's probably wishful thinking that 50% of them will follow through with that. But what do we go? And I don't know the setup of all. I'm still new here, but I don't know the setup of all the schools. But As far as, are we prepared to move all these fourth grade teachers down to third grade? And are we prepared in those schools to have that many more students? I don't know what it looks like, but are we prepared for all that? Do we have capacity to handle those things? Because we're talking, I don't know percentage-wise, but 2 or 3 possibly extra third grade classes in every school. What are we prepared for as far as that?
To be honest, we're prepared to hear whatever it is that's laid out before us, because at this point, what we have in our hands, that's the only guidance that we have. And I don't think, if you realize at this local level what a logistical nightmare it is, I think it's important to realize that if I were at the state level, I would really be panicking. If I've already put this into effect, and I know that at every local level you have that many students that are going to fall into this category possibly, and you're already facing teacher shortages, and then putting this in place is going to increase that. We really have no idea what we're facing. We will, as we always do, soldier on and do the best we can, but it's going to be difficult. And I will say, that goes kind of hand in hand with what you've said and what everybody else has said. As far as speaking up, and I've said that, I think it's very important. The meeting I attended where they shared this information and then turned around and said that some decisions will be left to the local level because the teachers know their kids best. I agree with that. And actually, on the little card where I left my comment, and I know they'll laugh, I signed my name. You weren't supposed to, but I did because I wanted to own what I said. I shared that I thought it was contradictory that you would put a law in place like this to fix a problem that you said our teachers could already address. If our teachers know our kids best, and we know they are doing a good job, and they want what's best for our kids, I don't understand putting a law in place like this when it's going to tie our hands in so many ways of getting the job done in the first place. So it's controversial. It's not that the end result is not what you want, but I think it should be up to us as to how we get there. And I'm not sure this is the answer with all of the logistical nightmares.
But we don't need to ditch the whole program, and that's what your politicians are gonna do.
Yeah, I think the goal is a worthy goal, absolutely. I mean, it would be no different than us looking at our data and determining there's a problem. If you see 70% of anything, you're going to address that if that's your weakness. However, just putting a blanket law in place and then telling you, go fix it, when you don't have enough staff as it is, you don't have enough space, you don't have enough time to plan, you don't even have all the guidelines laid out before you, that to me just seems unreasonable.
Shauna?
Yes, sir.
Miss Shauna, Miss Byers, whatever. We're neighbors, so I can call her whatever. Okay, you're K through 12.
Yes, pre-K through 12, actually.
Okay. How many kids 9 through 12 cannot read in our high schools?
I mean, I don't know the exact numbers.
It's a problem, though. There she is.
Angie.
I would love to speak to this because I've been trying to keep my mouth shut. But I've been doing this for 10 years, and in high school, we have our RTI. There is no child in RTI who's below the 25th percentile that can't read. They may not read on a ninth grade level, but if newspapers are written on a 6th, 7th grade level, then I feel like that's proficient enough for them to read a newspaper, get a job. There is no kid in RTI in high school that can't read, so I'm a little confused about, you keep saying that the kids can't read when I read with the kids every
So there's
year, and there's not a kid that
Sequoia,
can't
all of them
read.
can read and know what they're reading.
There's not a kid, the lowest kids, so we have special education, and then we have RTI. RTI is below the 25th percentile if they're not in special education, and there's no kid in RTI that cannot read. So that,
So we shouldn't have any
concerns me.
problem then.
the problem is that what is considered on grade level, and you have children, I mean, you have Dustin, you have grandchildren, on grade level on the state test is a 63rd percentile. So for a child to read well enough and comprehend and write and do grammar at the 63rd percentile, when I was in school, that was considered above grade level, and the state has the bar raised so high that on grade level is the 63rd percentile. So, I mean,
So you don't, you're RTI,
yes, sir,
okay.
below the 25th percentile. So
You
my
think-
kids
you-
on that chart
And I'm
are
not
the ones that are
criticizing,
basic.
I'm not criticizing, so you don't think any of them slip, because a lot of these people will not admit that they can't read.
Well,
Are they
but you
slipping through
keep
the-
saying the words can't read. So are you saying can't read on grade level?
I'm saying can't
Because
read.
like I was at Monroe Elementary today observing, in the third grade group, that this state, these kids can read, they can read, but they're not going to be on the 63rd percentile on the state test.
And that's the controversy that we're fixing to face.
That's the
in night.
controversy. Can they read? Are they on grade level? No. Do they need to improve? Yes. They're in third grade. They can read in third grade. So I know that when they graduate from high school, they will also still be able to read, and they'll be able to read better. From second grade, I mean, first graders are struggling, but our second and third graders are low. Remember that our third graders miss 6 months of kindergarten and 42 days at least of first grade. So they're lower than they've been in the past, but they can read. So that's my concern, is that we're using the words they can't read. They can read. They're not on grade level, but they can read. They're not,
But now that's the issue yours are gonna be facing.
absolutely.
Because the mom and daddies are gonna say they can read.
Right.
But-
Absolutely. They can read,
And they're
but they
not.
can't read at the 63rd percentile. That's the issue that we're facing, that we're going to be retaining kids that can read, but they can't read at the 63rd percentile.
You said the 63rd percentile, correct?
It's
And
across
all
the
of our
board about
most of our
63rd
magazines,
percentile.
newspaper, that's written on a sixth grade level. if I
6th
remember
to 8th
correctly.
grade level is what,
It's supposed to be, but it's normally a sixth grade level.
right.
So what is our 12th grade, 10th, 11th, 12th grade books written on?
They're written on 10th, 11th, and 12th grade
Okay.
level.
So
And-
to take his words and maybe new twist,
Tweak
it's
them.
not can't read, but they can't read at that
They
level.
can't read on grade level.
They can't read at grade
Right.
level, so consequently, they can't read. If they can't read on grade level, they can't get their work done.
Well,
And
I don't need to read Beowulf to be able to read and to be a
Comprehend.
functioning member of society.
Comprehension's the key.
Comprehension.
That's what I was when I say can't read, is when somebody reads this paragraph right here, and when they get through, I ask them, well, what did it say?
Right.
And they don't know what it
And that's what
said.
the state tests measure all of that. But the kids in my RTI classes can read and can comprehend.
And that's why a teacher in the third grade
Mm-hmm.
that sits down with a student and lets them read, they'll know whether they can read and understand what they can read. Just like your deal in RTI, you know.
I know that they can
understand.
read, right. But once, like Shauna was saying, that's the state law and that's out of our control. But I think using the words that they can't read is maybe misleading if someone's
Comprehensive.
watching and
Can't
thinking
read
that we're
comprehensive, but there's a
sending
lot-
people out of our school systems that can't read.
It may be another school system than I'm talking about, but can't read comprehensive. They've some that can't read comprehensive.
And I'm sure there are some kids that struggle with comprehending.
You're doing good. Just don't let the state kick this out,
But get
and that's
back
what
it
they're
out.
fixing to do.
And if you would ever like to go on a walk with us, I'm sure teachers would welcome you. They would welcome you to see what they're doing, the strategies they're using, and how hard they're
And
working.
we'd love to see any of you guys in RTI too.
My granddaughter hates RTI. She about fight you over it,
Yes.
but she got out of it.
How can they pass the TCAP and all those tests that were required? We don't even get the results back until the summer. How can they pass those tests if they can't comprehend on a 10th and 11th and 12th grade level? And we're still giving these tests, and I asked an attorney over at State Department, I said, why? Why are we still shoving tests down their throat? We're shoving a standardized test down their throat, but we're teaching differentiated teaching. And he said, They want something for the billions of dollars they're throwing at education. And that's one way they think they can get it. They're talking about the lawmakers. So, but how can we pass those tests if we don't read on grade level? Is that a better word of use of words?
Yes.
Instead of saying can't read,
Don't read on grade level. How can we
Yes.
I
progress?
stand corrected. I've known her a long time too, so.
How can we pass?
That's the question of the evening. And how can we logistically get classrooms ready for the next year when we don't receive the test results
Until
in
after
time?
summer. How can you do
So,
that? How are they
but-
gonna get them in summer
You're
school?
not gonna hold that many back.
Yes. But anyway, feel free to contact me
Anyway, you
anytime
done good.
with future questions.
25 of those teachers.
Thank
2 or
you.
3 of these guys that shut up, we'd have been out of here, John.
Old business 10-20-13, Director of Schools report.
Okay, in regard to the state's new TISA funding formula, the platform that they're going to use for making funding determinations has been postponed. That's scheduled to be open in January, so I thought I would share more good news with you. Brooke Johansson is making the most of the additional time, though, to make sure that our student information is where it needs to be for future funding purposes. So I am grateful to her for all the work she's doing, both here at Central Office and out in our schools, to make sure that we are on top of this when it really comes to count, which is now. In CTE news, Dr. Evans and Ms. McConkey are working on the Innovative Schools Model Grant with middle and high schools. This group had a very productive meeting this week, and we're excited about the direction in which they're going, so thank you for your work on that. In November, the TDOE will release the state-approved math textbook adoption list, so we'll be meeting with our district textbook adoption committee, and we'll present updates at the next board meeting on that. We're thrilled to announce that under the 2022 School Violence Prevention Program, our district was selected to be awarded the COPS grant, so we will get that again. And these funds allow us to continue our increased focus on maintaining safe and secure campuses for both our students and our employees. Dr. Strickland will be on next month's agenda for an accountability update, and that will highlight school and district performance for 2022. So I know you're all looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
10-20-14, any other business the board feels necessary to discharge its duties. 10-20-15, reminder of the following. TSBA Leadership and Annual Convention, November the 10th through the 13th. It's in Nashville. Please let Sandra know if you are not attending. November workshop, 5:30 p.m. prior to the November board meeting. Data results. Policy committee meeting, 5:30 p.m. prior to the December board meeting.
And if I may add, we did fail to announce that the runner-up for the TSTA Teacher of the Year that Ms. Bowers explained was Emily Roy. She's not here tonight, but let's give her a round of applause as well. She does have a certificate.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor? Any opposed?